Yeah, hi.
It kind of got stuck and then it just went off.
I
Sorry.
know, I
Yes.
know, I know. So, no, I'm hoping that at least part of it your audience was able to hear. I think the idea that every woman wherever she is, you work in a lot of encouraging a lot of women to do in the different women's spaces. I think wherever they are, whether they are in a public facility, whether they are in a private facility, whether they can afford it, whether they cannot afford like a large amount, I think women need to be allowed to
Yes.
be, have their babies in a calm, peaceful environment where they are welcoming essentially the next generation, right? If we are
Yes.
not able to give her that much space and privacy and patience to let her do that incredible amount of work that she does, I think somewhere we are completely wrong. So before the video went off, I was saying, this is not just my work, this is everyone's work, right? It's all of
Absolutely.
our work. It's every one of us who talks about this, who enables this. And today you are that that vessel who is carrying this talk forward. But every one of us who empowers five other women, 10 other women to talk about it and say, this is my birthright. I am giving
Yes.
birth and I need, these are the my basic minimum that I need. I think we will be really working towards a much better birthing environment, a much better humanity at large, and be able
Absolutely.
to, have a family at that moment of birth. That's when a family comes into existence. And if we are not allowing that
Yeah.
family to come together in a happy moment, a sacred space, we are doing a lot of wrong.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. So well said, Dr. Vijay. It's just not one day that we are going to celebrate women. I think it has to be every single moment, every single day, respecting the choices that women make. And
Yes.
that brings us to today's topic. How did you transform this landscape? First of all, why did we kind of fall into this stage where we lost our traditional wisdom, and we felt into a kind of uh, I wouldn't say trap, but then a kind of a place where we've lost our voices and we're trying to get it all back. So, in your experience, Dr. Vijaya, why do women feel so challenged in owning their birth?
Yeah. So I think there is a lot of things. I think generally women have always, from the beginning of time, to be told to be a good girl, right? They've always told, okay, this is how you're supposed to behave. This is how you're supposed, including like cross your legs, don't cross it. Simple things which we internalize it to the extent that we don't even realize that it is a very patriarchal model of care. And as long as the woman is quiet and compliant and going with the flow right from the beginning, parents tell us this, maybe not in so many words, but they tell us, this is how you
Yeah.
should be. You should be modest, you should be one two three things, and different cultures have different things. I'm not just talking about whether it is sexuality or modesty in dressing, but
Right.
generally women are told you have to be a good girl, right? And then
Yeah.
that sort of carries forward. And when you go into your with your partner, into your new relationship, into a new home, and especially in India, we all almost marry families, right? We don't just
Yes.
marry, we don't just
Yes.
get married to a person, we get married into
True.
a whole family, right? So
Yeah.
when that happens, automatically the woman gets put at the bottom of the totem pole, in terms of her voice, her choices, if she's having and we hear innumerable accounts of this in our when people come for preconception.
Right.
Literally half of them are coming because they are being pressured by either overtly or covertly to have a child. It starts from there, right?
Yeah.
People are asking me, when is the good news? The good news, there can be many other good news, but somehow that's the good news, and and they're being pressured, and suddenly somebody has told them, well, you're 30 years old or you're getting close to 30, you must have a baby. partners are also, it's not just the woman, even the partners are not ready. But again, this
Mhm.
family pressure, the
Yeah.
society pressure, everything gets to them and they're like, well, might as well have a baby. Very,
Yeah.
very few people that come into a practice actually are having a baby because they have decided, we have waited, it is our time, this is the right time. And honestly, I am like, whoa, that's great. If you guys have decided, this is wonderful. We can just take a conversation from here onwards, right? So, but that's where we are at. So that's the first part. The challenge of even understanding and knowing whether it is the right
Yeah.
time to have a
Right.
baby and what goes into it. It's not just, you're not bringing just a body into this world.
Yeah.
This person is going to be with you for a better part of the next 20 years, maybe more. I mean, and then once they become an adult, they're still going to be, of course, going
Yeah.
to be a part of you. But until then, it's a lot of responsibility. That's first part. Then the second challenge. The second challenge is, the parents or the grandparents or the neighbor or whatever aunt or whoever is telling them, okay, this doctor is the right person, so go to them. One, two, or three people have
Yeah.
had the babies with them, go to them. Okay, so that's the next challenge. Now, how does a woman start to use her voice and say, I can go, but I don't feel a connection with this person.
Yeah.
They don't have that voice or choice. That is number two. Third, once they go there, automatically, first of all, there is no sexuality education in this country. There is
Yes.
no really
That's a
talking
big one.
about reproductive rights. What is the reproduction?
Yes.
Honestly, how many women just go without even knowing the reproductive anatomy? It is astounding.
Very true.
We are literate, but we are body illiterate, completely body illiterate when it comes to the reproductive system, right? So there are many women now in this space making a lot of effort to educate about
Right.
reproductive rights. And I would ask your followers to go follow those people. There are many of these people on Instagram who are lovely, who are giving back that right to the woman, at least to understand her body, and to men as well. Again, I come back to this as a
Absolutely.
woman today, but there are
Absolutely.
so many men who don't know what goes into
Yeah.
it. So I just feel like when you are talking about all of that, without knowing your body, without knowing your rights, you go into this doctor's office, and what do we
Yeah.
think of the doctor? That the doctor is the fountainhead of all knowledge, right? We look at the doctor as,
Very
okay,
true.
you tell me, doctor, what to do. Now,
Yeah.
pregnancy, unlike other things, is a bodily function. If I put a piece of food into my mouth, I don't go to the digestive specialist and say, tell me, doctor, what to do,
Very true.
right? I
Very true.
automatically assume that my body knows how to chew food, to
How to
ingest
do.
it, digest it, and put it out, right? But
Right.
suddenly, because we don't know anything about reproduction, and because so much so there are so many myths existing, we say, okay, tell me what supplements to take, what to do. And again, the field of medicine being what it is,
Yeah.
and then especially coming to India, we just assume that nothing can happen without medications. So that's
Yeah.
point number three. Then if you look at the doctor and then you say, okay, the doctor says to you, well, there is nothing to be done, go home. They're going to say, oh my God, she's crazy.
True,
I'm
true,
just
true. Very
saying,
true.
the first 3 years when we were existing, one of my friends who is an OBGYN, she was telling me, if you don't have a prescription pad and write 1, 2, 3, nobody will come to you. I said, really? Let's see. And for first 4 or 5 years, we did not have a prescription pad. Then we started seeing more higher risk women, and we actually had a pad.
Okay.
First 3 years, we didn't even have a board saying Sanctum Birth Center. We didn't. We just assumed people would find us if they really needed to, and of course, word of mouth spread. But I'm just saying, it's like if
Yeah.
and honestly, when women call me when they have just peed on a stick and got out of bed and said, I need to see the doctor, I'm like, what for? Like, what is going to happen in that minute that you have to run to the doctor the moment you have found you're pregnant? Literally nothing. Now you need education. So we all say, if you are found out that you're pregnant, make sure that you're drinking enough water. Folic acid is good. Take folic acid supplements. Oftentimes my office will put them on the phone with me, and I'll talk to them saying, You know, if you have these symptoms, if you have any terrific abdominal pain, if you have fever, if you're having terrible nausea, if there is any pain that seems really bad, give us a call immediately, or any bleeding, spotting. But then this is to cover ourselves. Honestly, any of those symptoms, commonsensically, you would go to the doctor, right?
Yes, yes.
But because we have to cover ourselves and our people, we say these are the symptoms you want to come to. Otherwise, come after 45 days, after 50 days, when you're at seventh, eighth week, like that. So there is more things to do. Otherwise, when you go to the doctor, immediately the only thing the doctor can do, the only thing is to check by an internal scan. Now that
Right.
itself is painful, right? Now the woman may not have even had intercourse more than 1 or 2 times. There are many times that that happens. Now, once you
Okay.
have peed on a stick and said you are pregnant, it is taboo to even touch her. Like, don't go near her. Oh my God, she's pregnant, right? So now you're completely negating a bodily function, and that's not happening anymore. Then you're frightened that something terrible might go wrong. Then you're frightened that your family, if anything goes wrong, might
Yeah.
blame you. So now you're going to the doctor, who then puts an internal scan, which really doesn't show much, maybe a gestational sac, and then they say come back in 10 days, followed by more scans. And now, because the doctor is aware that this woman is pregnant, and that tomorrow if she bleeds, the doctor might have to be the doctor might be told, why didn't you do anything? They write a pill and say, okay, take this pill, it will strengthen your pregnancy.
Okay.
Okay, now that pill is progesterone, and progesterone is
Okay.
normally present in the body. Otherwise, the woman wouldn't have conceived. And if
Right.
it is not a strong pregnancy, it would have let itself out. I think that now there are so many factors in this little window that we have created. We have created an unnecessary medication. Now, if it goes wrong, then the doctor can say, well, despite everything, it went wrong, and therefore it's your next pregnancy is a high risk pregnancy. If nothing goes wrong, the woman has increased nausea, increased vomiting, so many things that come with that additional progesterone, which now makes her feel really sick. So now she's like, I am a patient. Now, doctor, tell me what to do. So now you have medications for decreasing the nausea. So the circle just is kind of
Yeah.
moving in a direction now, that now this has become the new reality, right? So a woman has to go to the doctor, has to get the medicines, has to be dependent, but not one moment
Has
have you
anybody
sat,
asked her?
exactly, or even has she sat and thought, what does it mean? Wow, I am pregnant. I mean, to me, we have lost those moments of
Yeah.
quietness, of connection, of feeling maybe excited, maybe a little anxious, maybe a little, oh my God,
Yeah.
I'm pregnant, maybe a little surprised. I think all of these things have now been lost, and now you're in this mill of activity, which
Yeah.
really doesn't mean anything to you, right?
Mm.
And then it becomes checkup after checkup, scan after scan, and we have women coming
Right.
and telling us that until they entered our facility, it almost felt like every checkup or scan that they went to was like a test. I must pass this test. What is the doctor going to say, right? So
Right.
there starts the challenge. And so then how is the challenge going to end? Outsourced your body to the doctor. Now at the very end of pregnancy, if you are not informed, if you have not educated yourself, if you have not attended some kind of good pregnancy preparation classes, you go to the doctor, and the doctor says, well, your due date has come and gone. Now I think you should get admitted. Let's do an
Mm.
induction, let's do a cesarean. So you have
Yeah.
no idea. Then
Yeah.
that has now become the new normal, where everyone says, labor ही नहीं आया.
Ah.
How? How is it possible? We are not elephants, we are not whales, we have a 9 month pregnancy. It does not exceed way beyond that. Maybe a couple weeks for some, maybe 2.5 weeks for some, but really not much, very much beyond that. So, why are we so worried about crossing the due date? So, this has become another myth. And then
Yes.
because due date hasn't come, and because you've been induced, and in the induction, literally you're given a whiff of induction, different, there are no checks and balances. Every facility has an induction protocol. 100 times you're checked, and then you're said, okay, 5 hours over, 10 hours over, nahi hua chalo. And then on top of it, the woman comes out of it saying, my doctor gave me so many hours, my body just did not go into labor.
Yeah.
So
They
now
take it
you
on
have the
themselves.
negative
Yeah.
feeling on your
Yeah.
body saying my body failed. So how do
Yeah.
you go with that into your next pregnancy, or do you? And so many women with that experience don't want to get pregnant at all.
Yes.
You know,
True.
so
True.
challenges like that. Where do we even start, Divya? You know?
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. But I think that's where, women like you are kind of empowering women by educating them and, telling them what you need to expect, what you need to make sure you're treating normal and what's not normal.
Correct.
I think that's the sense that we've all lost somehow in the entire process. Also, Dr. Vijaya, a woman like you, as you rightly said, have been trying to do and changing a lot of things in the birthing landscape. But why have we come to this stage? Um,
Mm.
our forefathers and grandmothers and they had a very simple, I mean, similar to what we you are trying to educate now, had very simple pregnancies. But why have we come to this stage where we have to educate people about this?
Yeah. So I think we already talked about the disparity between the knowledge and the medical environment. I
Yes.
really feel like the women then in that generation did not necessarily have a knowledge of like where is your uterus or where are the fallopian tubes and that, but they had a lived in experience of giving birth, right? So you had women who were hardy, who worked, who literally worked,
Yes.
in their house, and many of them
Right.
outside of the home too. And overall their food was very simple. You would have to search your memory to find a very, high BMI grandmother. Literally, you would have to
Right.
search your memory to find that. It's not that they are not, but those, in that sense, food was simple, a lot of activity, but more importantly, I feel there was a community of women who were, who sort of knew what it was to give birth. So if you were in a joint family, and if you were, you got pregnant every other year, many of them had like big families, 4, 5, 6 kids, and if you had that, and if you had your, your co-sister or your sister-in-law and your aunt or
Yeah.
anybody who was in the
Yeah.
family giving birth, it was a simple event. If you look at my grandmom, she was 16 when she gave birth to my mother, and the story is she birthed at home with my with a dye present, and my mother says that the story that was told to her was that she was coming breech, like bum down and head up, and the
Uh-huh.
dye actually turned her and brought her out. So
Wow.
the these had the skills, right? So the thing is, but she did not have any. When she passed along all this to her, my mom, she did not talk about pain, right? And now, when my mom had both of us, like, of course, we were born in a hospital, it was a private hospital, but she just says, well, your labor was a little long. I went in, I lay that there, and it was very, like, typically women would, be in the wards, get admitted, and then, as some things change, the nurse would come and check, get her into the labor room, and yes, episiotomy was given at that point of time too. But they were in, and this I'm talking of, I'm dating myself now, 53 years ago, right? So even then, there was no mention of, that there was a lot of pain. You came, and then my sister, it was very simple. Her bag of waters broke at home. She went in, she labored for just a little bit, had her, and then she said there was some kind of a festival or something going on. There was very few people in the facility, so she felt a little afraid, and she discharged herself very quickly and came home. So I think the idea of pain was not told to us as well. So I think, and then when I was giving birth, there was a little bit of this education and all of that, but relatively, the confidence in the body was there. The confidence in that, yes, things will go well was there. And now, because we have made this into such a almost like a time bomb ticking, something must go
Yeah.
wrong type of situation. I think we are landing up with more and more fear, and there is
Yes.
fear being generated from the medical side, there is fear being generated from the society side, and there is really, once you start with fear, you
Yeah.
cannot have birth peacefully. It's as simple as that, right?
True.
When you're fearful, guess what happens? any of your viewers that are watching, you can do this little experiment. You can tighten and clench your jaws and
Yes.
have that heart pinging like that. And what happens? Your bottom clenches up automatically, right? There is such
Correct.
a big interconnection between this top part, how we are open, how our vocal cords are open, how our heart is open, to how our uterus opens out. The womb is actually called the second heart. I think it should be called the first heart, but anyway, it's called the second heart because it literally needs to be feel safe in order to open up. And when you have no safety, when you have being surrounded by a lot of medically driven processes, when
Yeah.
there is no privacy, when there are people around you who don't necessarily treat you as a woman giving birth, but as a baby that needs to be taken out of the womb,
Take a
how
note.
will you
Yeah.
give birth? So that becomes extraordinarily challenging. And hence, coming back to your question, that's where we have to educate them.
Yeah.
That was the question that you asked. I had to go a roundabout way to come back, but that's where the education is needed. I don't care in the education class. We do ask people to make a little drawing about where they think their uterus and their fallopian tube is and so on and so forth. But I don't care if they really know where exactly it is, how long is it, what is how long is the vaginal canal, how long. We don't need to know exact things. What we are not asked, we are not telling them to get educated anatomically. What we are
Yeah.
telling them is, by knowing this, you will know that this body that made the baby knows how to grow it and knows how to bring it out. What you
Right.
need is good support systems. What you need is people surrounding you, allowing you to understand that there is a miracle happening. I often tell couples who come to me, there is one cell at conception, okay, and there
Yeah.
is 200 million at birth. What
Yeah.
do you have to do about that? Nothing. What does your doctor have to do about that? Nothing. It happens, right? Of course, there is always those the harder pregnancies and the inability to conceive, and then there is all this reproductive and assisted reproductive
Yeah.
technology. I'm not saying doctors have no role. There is a huge role there, right?
Yes.
And there is also a huge role when there is an emergency, when there is assisted birth that is needed, whether it's assisted vaginal birth or whether there is a cesarean. There is a fantastic role for medicine. We are not
Yeah.
saying to women, go back into a cave, birth the baby birth 2,500 years ago. We are not also telling them that if you have a cesarean birth, something terrible is wrong with
Yeah.
you. In fact, that's the woman who needs even more support, more assistance, more circles of support to make her feel validated and
Yeah.
empowered and ensure that she and her baby are still coming into this new mother baby space. In a more peaceful manner, right? So it's not about that. But where we are really struggling is that women now are feeling that without an epidural, they can't give birth because it's almost been like this bouquet of services that is offered. Come
Yeah.
in, do you want to get induced? Okay, pick and choose. Do you want an epidural? Now pick and choose. Shall we do an epidural? What is this? I think we need to
Absolutely.
say, come in,
Yeah.
you are having a baby. Wow, what a wonderful moment that is, and the way you made your baby, keep the environment private, have your partner to support you. Everybody around you says, you can do this. You are so powerful today, and
Yeah.
a lot of times when the woman's having a hard time, I will look her in the eye, hold her hands and say, you are the most powerful woman in this room. Today, you are the most powerful woman. And suddenly it changes, She's no longer feeling like there is things that are being done to her. And she says, I can do this. I can do this. And we can change that tone simply by giving her that space and simply by holding her tight and saying, we are here with you. And how beautiful
Awesome.
is that then she can come back out of it and say, I did it. Not
Yeah.
my doctor. Yes, she will sometimes say, I couldn't have done it without you. And that's okay because we all need support it's
Absolutely.
like an enormous task. We all need support. And this is not just for birth. Anything enormous, we all need, love and
Yeah.
support and care. But she's able to do it then, right? So that's where the education piece I think is so important. And even though we follow all the healthy birth practices, we insist to our parents that they must attend childbirth class because then they they and us become partners in
Yeah,
the process.
yeah,
And if
yeah.
we are offering an intervention, they know exactly why we are offering it. We
Fine.
have a chance of talking about it and then making a good decision for themselves.
Absolutely, absolutely. Um, Archana says that every birth on this planet should be through you.
Oh, Archana and I have lots of conversations. Dr. Archana, if you have not watched her live, go to her page at Archana's Place. Actually, go to my page too. And we've had two
Uh-huh.
weeks ago, we had a wonderful conversation. And
We'll do that.
Dr. Archana is an emergency care physician, and she has had
Okay.
both her babies with me. And yeah, we have. Oh, Archana, we love you too.
Wonderful. Also, it's a great conversation, and just coming to the fact that why have we lost the traditional wisdom? Some of it definitely you've answered, but why is it that we as women or we as families are detaching ourselves from traditional wisdom that is already there in our families, or our mothers or our grandmothers have already experienced it. I do understand that there is a bit of medical interventions that have been probably given to us on a platter and said, okay, this is what you are going to go through. But from you, Dr. Vijaya, what do you think? Why? What is the main reason?
I think, see, there is many layers to this question as well. I think when the birth moved from the home into the hospital, hospital is for sickness. Okay, and so when we moved a healthy, normal birth process from the home into the hospital, everything became
Okay.
in the
Yeah.
medicalized mode, right? And the more we move it away from this space where women have this internal wisdom to give birth, like I talked about a few minutes ago, how did she give birth at home? She was surrounded by wise women. She was surrounded by aunts. Many time in the village, there used to be this one woman who would be like, the even though she might not have got a calling as a dai, she might come in and help. The other part is that generally they were conditioned to believe that their body is able to do this. They, again, like I said earlier, they didn't believe about pain. They didn't think about that this is going to be a huge endeavor for them to do. They knew that babies would come. So here comes the next part of it. One part of it is the medicalization, the medical marketing, the medical, saying that this is the safest way to be. And studies are telling us now
Yeah.
that a planned home birth is as safe as a hospital birth. but
Oh,
but but the most important thing is that there should be, this is the reason that's why we call it plan, because then you'll end up being able to transport the women when the labor doesn't progress, if there is an emergency,
right.
very quickly to a hospital or a medical environment where they can receive the help that they need. In India, it's very hard. So that's again coming back to it culturally, that's really, really hard. First of all, we have remote villages, we have so many things. So government in its wisdom to try to reduce the maternal mortality and the infant mortality
Yeah.
has said that it is good to birth the babies in an institution. Now, that's a whole another debate, and I won't spend too much time talking
Yeah.
about it. But what has happened is, in that institutionalization, we have forgotten that there is a woman. We have
Yeah.
just now, this is a product, this is something that needs to be done to the woman in order to deliver, safely deliver the baby. That itself says we are delivering something and putting it away. Mother is not giving birth anymore. We are delivering. Right? And oh,
Yeah.
she has been delivered off child. And this is the history of obstetrics has been, this is not just in India, the way it has come in has been, there has been a violent history where there has been male obstetricians involved. That's how the history developed. And so that's that piece to it. Again, if you look at the history and culture of childbirth, that's where the feminine got lost. The
Yeah.
maleness came into play. And to the male, what does a male, like the male mindset is, do something, do it faster, do it better. The feminine is calm, quiet, peaceful, do it at my leg. That has been lost. And then the fear, and then the added like ignorance about childbirth. So how do we get to this? To by saying out aloud over and over again the truth that we talk about over and over to people, your body knows to do this. You can do this. This is a basic biological function. If you can digest your food, you can also birth your baby, right? And yes, you benefit from a pair of hands who can be calm and quiet and recreate that birth environment to be as close to the environment where you conceived, And that's the best gift that we can give you. But in case
Awesome.
of an emergency, be able to move you into the
Yeah.
theater. So
Yeah.
one of the biggest ways that when we established this birth center was for women and their families to understand that in case of an emergency, you don't need to be transported. You
Yeah.
have everything. You have the gynecologists who come in, you have the anesthetists who are on call, you have a pediatric team, and you have backups of backups, so that you still have that same respectful, compassionate, hand-holding care that you and your baby can receive. But in case of an
Yeah.
emergency, you have that available to
Yeah.
you.
Wonderful. Wonderful. True. Also, now coming to you and your team, you've been doing a great amount of work with your team and, transforming the entire landscape of birthing in India. Tell us something about that. How do you, your team and you come together, and what are the things that you focus on as when it comes to being a caregiver to a woman?
So I think the primary focus is for all of us from the time you enter our center, from the reception area. I think everyone treats you as family, and I think I can very proudly say that that transfers into every aspect of care, from the security guard, who, by the way, is not a part of our staff. We have a security company. But here's the thing, okay? When you treat people respectfully, everyone starts to treat others respectfully as well. We didn't have anyone talk to the security guard saying, this is how you should do it. They see, they watch, they open the door, they know that they are a part of something which is
Yeah.
beautiful, right? So from
Yeah.
the security guard who opens the doors, to the Monica who's answering the calls, to Radhika who takes care of the back end admin, to everyone. Like literally, I think the whole idea is that we all feel that you are a part of our family. That if you are coming in, you're coming in into a space that is sacred. Yes, sometimes there are delays. Yes, sometimes we are in the middle of births, and sometimes rescheduling happens. But we are also a small team. Unfortunately, this kind of work takes a lot of time to spread.
Yes.
The volume is almost next to impossible because every single person who enters the space gets that amount of time. So even if someone has waited for an hour, for example, because something has happened, a labor has happened, or someone else has taken time, we know that we are going to give them that next 1 hour, and when it is their turn, they are going to get more than that hour for to sort of engage and get themselves empowered with knowledge and skills. So I think that's the first part. The second part, like I said, is education. We educate, 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 educate,
Yeah.
educate, whether it's in every prenatal appointment or to
Yeah.
even for the partners in the corona times, every hospital, of course, had their own policies. Many people, they've come to us in the 7th month, 8th month and said, this is the first time my partner is in the room, and we made sure that, yes, we have also adopted a lot of safety measures, but we have made sure
Hmm.
that at least the partner can come in, touch the belly, feel the baby. We are telling them, okay, wow, look at her, look at how this baby is lying. Do you want to see where the spine is? Do you want to know where the baby's feet are? So again, they are getting
Very
engaged in
nice.
that process, right? Otherwise, what's the point if the partner sits and, he's on his phone, and we are talking to the woman, and the woman doesn't ask, or the mom-in-law is saying, oh, she has this symptom, this symptom, this symptom, and I'll look at them and say, I want to hear her voice. I want to hear her voice, not yours. I'm glad that you're talking about it, but I'm not going to
Awesome.
engage with, someone who, I need to know what her needs are. And that
Yeah.
first giggle that happens when they hear the heartbeat, and that's where the education happens. It's not about telling
Amazing.
them, this is your uterus, that's your pelvis. It's about telling them, this is your body, this is your
Yeah.
baby. Let's do,
Yeah.
good things with it, and ensure that you are as excited about it as we are every time we see you and the baby, right? And then
Yeah.
we talk to them about exercise, we talk to them about diet and nutrition. So I think this reminds me, I'm going to write a blog on how our care is different from the regular care.
Oh,
Okay, so this is something
awesome.
that has come out of this. But never lose an opportunity to educate. So I think when we talk about that, they begin to understand that even if you are a working woman with, other children, and you have other, family responsibilities to take care of, you can devote a certain amount of time, and you should devote a certain amount of time into making sure that your meal prep is done, your food's, nutritional. And then the partner, now they get a little bit, oh, and we involve them and say, this is something you can help her with. Why can't you do all this? And then there'll be some partners who say, I'm the one who cooks, and we say, great, fantastic. And then the others get drawn into it, and that happens. And
Very
then, of
nice.
course, the Lamaze classes, where they, over a course of 4 weekends, they really get to introspect, to get their attention into inwards, to go and understand a part of it, and then, labor and birth. And then that's the essential part. Now, we can do all of this, but during labor, if every one of our staff is not, into that, in sync to support
Right,
labor, because all
right,
of our nurses are cross-trained to provide labor support. So they not
right.
only check the vitals, check the baby, but they are the ones who will come and say, you have not drunk water, come on, and talk to the husband and say, go get her something to eat, or if this is how we can rub your back. Come on, we can try and walk. Let's make your labor a little more easeful. Why don't you? Okay, now it's the time to rest. So they know, and they have been, and most of our staff has been with me for a while. So, like they sort of become a part of the family as well in that sense, 9 years, 10 years. So they've been with us for a while, and they get it too. And again, I think this is where, when you are respectful of everyone, they know how to pass that respect
Yeah,
along to the woman, and
yeah,
and it becomes a beautiful event. So I just feel these are the things that we need to incorporate, and a lot of it is not rocket science. A lot
yeah.
of it is
Very
basics,
simple,
and
basic.
then
Yeah,
it becomes a part of your everyday cycle. Why is it not possible that the mother and baby should not be separated after birth? Tell me.
yeah.
Why?
True,
Why should
true.
that baby go to somebody else? Why
Very
should
true.
that, the moment the baby is born, the partner says, my mother is waiting outside, I need to text. Wait, take a
Yeah,
breath, enjoy your baby. Your
yeah,
parents will be there still. There is no disrespect. That's the moment you're going to be, the child going to hear your voice, the baby is going to be with you. You can come together as a family, then enjoy it with others. Why is the baby going to be bundled and given to somebody else when the woman's done all the work? You know,
yeah,
absolute bare minimum is mother and baby not being separated. Okay, if the baby is not breathing, needs to be resuscitated, whole different
yeah,
story,
yeah,
right? But we are talking of the 85% of normal, healthy, low risk women who should
yeah,
be receiving this care as a basic bare minimum.
yeah. Awesome, awesome. It's so endearing to, hear the way you empower everyone, not only the women who come to give birth, but your team, how they themselves are getting empowered to take the right decision to help, the women who come by themselves. Just amazing.
Thank you.
My last, my last question to you would be, when it comes to really choosing the care provider, right? Why do women feel reluctant to make their voices heard? Why is it so?
Again, multi-layered, but I think the short answer is this. I think a lot of people still don't want to take responsibility for their outcomes. I think this becomes the base. So if you're going to
Yeah.
become a parent, I think it is important that you say, I am also going to take the responsibility for my choices. A lot of the times, other than the fact that we talked about earlier, women not being given a voice, women being sort of, put down at the bottom of the ladder and so on and so forth, even the parents together, women's
Yeah.
one part, but the parents together even don't want to really, their main fear is, if I choose this model of care, like say the midwifery model of care, or if I choose a care provider, if I say I really don't like the one that you have selected for me, who is next door and who gives me no more than 2 minutes, and they don't even remember me by name. I think these are important things, right? So many people will tell me, I just felt like a number. I didn't feel like she remembered my case. I didn't feel like they remembered my name.
Yes.
Why would you not want that? Aren't you a person?
True.
Like,
True.
and you are going through an enormous event called birth. The least would be to remember your name, not the woman in that room, or that purple file, or that number, medical record number. No. So I think that becomes the first thing. And then the
Yeah.
second thing is that they feel that if something goes wrong. And life is like that. Sometimes some things will go wrong. Or even, for example, if they go against family and say, choose us for care, right? And then they have a C-section for a very valid reason. One of the things they fear is that the family will then say, see, you did this, you went there, we told you not to go there, you paid so much money, and now you've had a C-section over there as well, right? I think that fear is there. The moment our parents begin to understand, and I'll say the woman begins to talk for herself and put her foot down and say, this is my body. I am giving birth to a child. This baby is going to come through me. I don't want unnecessary interventions. I'm okay with a cesarean that may be absolutely required, but I don't want unnecessary interventions. And I want respect.
Yeah.
Then that starts the conversation within them as parents. And then both of them stand up to their family and say, it's okay. You have raised responsible adults. We will take the responsibility here on. I think that's really the place where I would love to see new, parents to come into. It's
Yes.
hard. It's super hard, especially hard in our context of the cultural circumstances. But I think that's the only way we are going to change the way we allow things to happen to our body. Because ultimately, we are allowing things to happen to our body. We are
Yes.
allowing cut to be done. We are allowing interventions to be done. We are not, without understanding the long-term consequences, right? Because
Absolutely.
this is the physical, emotional, social, spiritual, all consequences are happening,
Yes.
right? And there are partners who will, there are women will come and say, our equation changed after the birth. How beautiful is that? They'll say
Yeah.
that my partner looks at it with me with more respect. So I think that's what we want to create, an environment where they can come together as a couple and now move forward, making good decisions for their new family.
Absolutely, absolutely. So wonderfully put, Dr. Vijaya. Thank you so much. We just have a couple of minutes before we will end this live. I think you've inspired us all these years and all the women around you. And what better way than to really feel that you are a woman, right? And you have the power to do what you are supposed to do. And thank you so much, Dr. Vijaya. The last bit that I would like from you to conclude this Women's Day special with us is your, input for the team Clearscape. Anything that you would like us to, put in our minds and take it forward for us. We are a team of women who are driving this initiative. We are trying to promote the karigars and the weavers of India through this initiative called Clearscape, and we are an all-women team who are trying to do our bit. So anything for us.
I think you're already doing it. Every woman who is banding together as an organization, and I really feel each one of us who talks about this, who moves it forward in every bit of way, you are empowering women in your sphere by highlighting their work, by giving them an avenue to showcase and move their work forward and possibly earning for their families. That's the first place, because all this ties in together, right?
Yes.
Financial independence, their own
Yes.
sense of self, that I am doing this for bettering myself and my family. I think you're already doing it. So I am in awe of you as well. You're doing an amazing job. And I think for the followers here who have come to here, I would say, follow and really contribute. So I would say, like, basically any time that you find that there are people around you who can contribute in whichever way, pull them in, because I think what you're doing
Absolutely.
is amazing. So, and I would be happy to lend my voice, words, whatever, to in whichever
Thank
sphere
you
that
so
you would
much.
like to.
Thank you.
And
Thank you
you're
so
doing a
much.
very good job. Thank you for doing what you're doing as well.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Vijaya. It was amazing. And I'm going to, I think, look at this conversation on a loop because there's so much to really absorb. And I think every woman, has to own their bodies, own their births, own their minds, and own their voices. And that's when the change that we have all lost, right, will happen
Yeah.
together.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Dr.
It's
Vijaya.
lovely.
Thank you
It's
so much.
lovely being here with
Lovely
you.
talking to
Happy
you.
Women's Day, and
Happy
we
Women's
and
Day.
we are going to celebrate it in whichever way possible to spread our
Absolutely.
voices.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank
Bye.
you. Thank you so
See you.
much.
Bye. See you later. Bye.
Bye.